Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose. And yeah, so my voice still isn't completely back. Hopefully next week. But for you Nintendo fans out there, I understand that, they've been quiet here recently. Though I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. In reality, I actually think that this sets up to start 2024 off with an absolute bang. They have a chance to come out swinging with an early Nintendo Direct and just loads and loads of content. Maybe we hear about that successor, maybe we don't. But there is a rumor going around that they could announce a rather interesting surprise that fans are going to go absolutely crazy about, if true. So we're going to get into all of that today, and then also the Insomniac leaks, because it just keeps getting worse. Let's just go and get things started off, though, starting off with an already announced Nintendo game being Luigi's Mansion 2 HD for the Nintendo Switch. It just got rated by ESRB, which could possibly signal a soonish announcement. Again, this takes us back to that early 2024 Nintendo Direct. This is something that Nintendo typically likes to do, as it really is the perfect way to start the year. It immediately allows them to set expectations for fans by giving them some games to look forward to for that given year and the windows or release date in which they'll release. So, we already know that Luigi's Mansion 2 is planned for a summer release, and maybe they'll narrow that down at an incoming Direct. For that matter, if they do actually have an early showcase, I'd imagine some other games to kind of keep an eye on would be Princess Peach, Showtime, and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which, interestingly, also has yet to give a release date. I think the only thing is, and this is what we're all kind of wondering right now, when will this Nintendo Direct be? There's been some rumors that it could possibly happen in January, but I don't know if I actually believe that. Historically, Nintendo seems to prefer the month of February, but I guess we'll see here soon enough. Now, we also got an update on the Sony Discovery situation. Previously, we had heard that any purchased Discovery content on the PlayStation Store would be removed from your library after December 31st. They apparently have been having some kind of licensing dispute with each other, but the good news here is that's now been resolved. You can see Sony's new statement here, which reads, "Similar to other services, we do not own the licensing rights to TV movie content that was previously available for purchase on PlayStation Store. However, we've worked with Warner Brothers to update our licensing agreements, ensuring that consumers will be able to access their previously purchased content for at least the next 30 months. So, there you go, I guess. They heard the backlash loud and clear. You can keep your purchased content for at least another 30 months. At the same time, though, the veil has been lifted. There's no more illusion that you own this content. That's out the door now. And to me, that was the big news here. On one side, yes, it's nice to see that they work things out between each other, but the reality is, and we saw this for ourselves, these companies, not us, but these companies control the content that we buy digitally. I still firmly believe that this type of stuff needs to be regulated more. Maybe these regulators should actually do something worthwhile for a change, because I think that this is absolutely ridiculous. This concern for consumers should have never even happened in the first place, especially with how the world is moving. We are heading into an increasingly digital future, and while that brings, some convenience, it's pretty clear by this point we're also going to have to increasingly rely on these corporations. And I have to ask you, after this debacle, do we actually trust that going into the future? That's the scary thing here. So despite them actually working out their differences, I don't know if it actually alleviated the ongoing concern for digital content. Let me know how you all feel about this one in the comments below. Now, here's something kind of interesting, though. Bloober team, which is most known for their work on horror games such as The Medium, Layers of Fear, and the upcoming Silent Hill 2 remake. Cross my fingers that turns out to be good. But that, however, is not the only game that they have in their pipeline, because they just signed a contract with Skybound Entertainment to work on an unannounced horror game based on one of their IP. Now, Skybound, if you're unaware, is the home to several graphic novels such as Invincible and most notably The Walking Dead. So, when you put two and two together here, a new Walking Dead game developed by Bloober team does make a lot of sense. I actually think that this could end up being a winning combo if done right. We've gotten various Walking Dead games over the years with mixed results, but it is a popular series that has potential to break further into that horror genre specifically. Now, I understand that not everybody likes Bloober Team, and there is some apprehension when it comes to them, but I think some of their games have turned out pretty well. Personally, I enjoyed the medium. It wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but it did have a creative atmosphere, and I really enjoyed the story for what it was. It just kind of lacked in that combat department, as it was more of a walking simulator than anything else, but I enjoyed its other components. I do think that this is a studio that has potential, so I'd at least be curious to see what they could do with the Walking Dead franchise if that's what they're actually working on. Whatever it is, though, it's currently scheduled for a 2025 premiere. In the meantime, we'll just go and continue to wait for some Silent Hill 2 news, hopefully in 2024. All right, so let's go and get into the big story of the day, though. And like I said before, I do understand that Nintendo has been a little quiet here recently. Think of it as kind of the calm before the storm, if you will, because I do believe that Nintendo is going to have a big year in 2024. And that's not just because the Switch successor, yes, that does play a big part, because, I mean, we all want to know what this thing is, when it's going to release, the power, the price, and all that. But let's not forget about the games. That's why we play consoles, and, with that, what about the launch lineup? What could they possibly launch with to entice consumers to their next device? Well, there's been some different rumors and speculation. We've heard about a new 3D Mario, a new Donkey Kong game. Metroid Prime 4 could end up being a cross-generation title, which I do think actually makes a lot of sense. I am no longer expecting that game to be a Switch-only title, and honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if it's exclusive for their next console. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I wouldn't necessarily be surprised is all I'm saying. Here's the thing, though. There's a new rumor going around, and when you think about it, this does kind of make sense. So before we get into that, though, we do need to kind of preface what's happening here. So about a month or so back, Dr. Sakan Todo decided to drop a rather cryptic tweet online. It simply said, ZR 2023, and nothing else. Now, he quickly removed that tweet and never really clarified what it actually meant. So technically, it could have just been referring to the Zelda live-action movie, but we'll never truly know. Maybe he was just wrong completely. Who knows? But the thing is, this rumor is now gaining more traction because another insider stepped forward and posted a tweet that was oddly very similar. This is coming from Nash Weedle, and he posted CZR 2024. Now, if you're unaware of who Nash Weedle is, his reputation as an insider largely seems to track back to the Metroid Dread leak. A lot of people believe he was the original leaker for Metroid Dread, as he seemed to have a lot of information for that game well before it released. Now, personally, I am a little hesitant to believe what this person says because I've not really seen a long history of anything else. So, to me, I think that you should kind of take this with a large grain of salt. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. But at the same time, what we're about ready to talk about does make some logical sense because we already know a couple key things here. The first is we know that Nintendo wants to release a new Zelda game every single year. So it shouldn't really come as a major surprise that something Zelda related will come in 2024. Now, will it be big or small? I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see. But there is a reason to believe that they might be looking to do something significant, and let me explain why. All you have to do is look at what happened with Breath of the Wild when it launched side by side with the Nintendo Switch. I mean, if there was ever an example of a winning launch combo in gaming history, that's the #1 prime example. So launching with another Zelda title alongside the Switch successor could be a great way of pushing their next console. Now, as for what the Zelda could possibly be, though, there's a few theories on what CZR 2024 could be referring to, and these are the three big ones. One, and this one seems pretty straightforward, is that it could mean classic Zelda remake. So this could really be for any retro Zelda game. Ocarina of Time is probably the most requested, and honestly, that would be a huge game to remake. I mean, if they really wanted to start next generation off in a big way, a legitimate Ocarina of Time remake, in the same essence as something like Final Fantasy VII Remake, that would be the way to go. Fans have been dreaming about this for years and years, and with a big power upgrade, Nintendo could really do something meaningful here. It could honestly be a great early showcase for what the Nintendo Switch successor is capable of.
The second thing that people are kind of guessing here, though, is that C could stand for collection. This isn't quite as big as the first, but it does kind of take us back to those yearly rumors that Nintendo has a Zelda, Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess bundle planned. Honestly, I don't really believe this rumor. As much as I'd like a collection, I think that would be great, but it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I mean, when you think about it, this is the same company that sold Skyward Sword HD as a $60 title. So why do we suddenly believe that they'll bundle 2 Zelda games for the price of one? Now, I could see them releasing them separately, but together, I don't know. Just kind of call me skeptical when it comes to this rumor. 3, though, and this one's really interesting. Some people believe that C could stand for Capcom. So a Capcom Zelda remake, kind of similar to their work on Zelda Link's Awakening. Now, for those unaware, the Oracle games and Zelda Minish Cap was all handled by Capcom. By the way, all those games are absolutely excellent. So maybe Grezzo, the developer behind the Link's Awakening remake, maybe they're working on one of those Capcom Zelda games. It does actually fit in with Grezzo's timeline. Pretty much since the 3DS, Grezzo has released a new Zelda remake about every 4 to 5 years, with Link's Awakening being their last one in 2019. So 2024 would make a lot of sense if they are indeed working on another Zelda game, which, I mean, honestly, why not? It's been a fruitful partnership for both Grezzo and Nintendo, so this one does make a lot of sense. I also do love those Capcom Zelda games, probably some of the most underrated titles in the entire franchise, so I'd be thrilled if this one turned out to be true. At the end of the day, though, this is only a rumor for the time being. It's fun to speculate, but I'd still remain cautious until we actually hear something from Nintendo specifically. With all that, though, I do think that 2024 is going to be a lot of fun for Nintendo fans, and hopefully that starts bright and early next year. Now, one last thing that I want to talk about here, though, is the Insomniac leak. Unfortunately, it just keeps getting worse, and now Wolverine has completely leaked out in playable form. Now, it was already playable to an extent, but you did have to have a PlayStation 5 dev kit in order to play it. Not a lot of people actually have one of those, and even the ones that did, they had to be cautious, to say the least. However, a PC build has now found its way online, and that opens the floodgates for a lot more people. Now, it's completely out in the open. Now, obviously, this is not the full game, though. It's actually a very small portion, but still, this is not something that you want to see for a game that's so early in development. And this is kind of the weird thing that I've seen online. I've seen some fans criticize Wolverine for being a reskinned Spider-Man game, but I think that that's a little unfair this early in development. There's a reason that developers don't show gameplay early on, because this is not what the end result is intended to be. There's an evolution throughout game development. So what you see in this early build is not going to represent the final results. So you do have to kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, I mean, there's likely going to be some similarities between Wolverine and Spider-Man when the game is finished, but honestly, I thought that was always to be expected. I mean, even if you look at Ratchet & Clank, Resistance, Sunset Overdrive, and Spider-Man, if you really pay attention, they all have similarities with how they utilize weapons and gadgets. That is something that they have taken from game to game, and I think in Wolverine's case, yeah, they're going to take certain elements from the Spider-Man traversal system, and they're going to incorporate that into Wolverine. Now, it's not going to be exactly the same like we're kind of seeing in the early builds, but yeah, they might have some similarities, and I think that is perfectly fine. Back to the PC leak, though, even though this build has gotten out way early, Sony reportedly has been protecting themselves. There's been some early reports that internet service providers have been sending out DMCA strikes to people who's downloaded it. So, even though you probably should have already avoided that download, now you should definitely avoid it. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this video. I hope all of you all have an absolutely wonderful holiday weekend. Enjoy some time with your family, friends, or whomever. Do make sure to be safe out there, though. But until next time, peace out.